Thanks for the opportunity to do this. Just so you know, I've got 30 years in environmental health and safety. So this is what my background is in anyways. I do this for a chemical manufacturer. And, you know, I was asked by Celia to assist the church in putting together an emergency action plan, which we will go over. And there may be questions on this, and that's fine because it is new to everyone. And as far as the fire extinguisher portion, I have a 5-minute video that you can all watch, and you can actually get a good idea as to how to use a fire extinguisher. We were going to have a hands-on, but unfortunately, it's the small one or using a regular 10 or 20-pound dry chemical, which we don't want to use because it's just messy and it's nasty stuff.
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd have CO2s available. They're out of work, so I couldn't get a CO2. So with that, this is the first of the emergency evacuation plan. This is to go over with all the leads, and I don't know if all the leads are here or well, who's here.
Explain what a lead is. We don't know.
Oh, they don't know what a lead is. Ah, okay, didn't know that. Can you help me with that one? Because I can go over who the leads are.
Right. Well, what is a lead normally, in general terms? What is a lead person? What do they
Oh,
do?
what is a lead person?
Right.
Okay, I thought the lead was the church, but that's okay. A lead person will be an individual who will take control and coordinate and assist with the emergency evacuation in the event that the fire alarm will go off, okay?
And that's what these people are.
Okay, so we're going to discuss, we're going to go over that portion. I thought that was a church term, that's why I was a little confused. We'll go over that portion. We'll go over the roles and responsibilities for each group as well. Now, it's Huntley, but in her absence, there should be a backup. That if the fire department does come on site, someone has to communicate with either the chief that comes on site or the lieutenant that comes on site, but there's going to be a commander that comes on site, and he's going to want to know where the incident is and a whole bunch of other questions, and there has to be someone who can communicate that information to it, because otherwise there'd be mass confusion. And then, again, I discussed, understand, and know how to use a fire extinguisher. We can go over it, I can explain it, and we can watch a video on it, but I was hoping to have a hands-on. So the program lead, as we said, is Huntley. She's going to be the liaison between the fire department and...
Because my role as the senior warden will come to an end at a certain point. There will always be a change of that particular person unless it's someone who's in property or someone who's in a permanent position.
Yeah, and I kind of discussed that later on, but this document is going to be a living document. There are going to be changes. There are going to be people who are leaving their roles and responsibilities, so that obviously has to be passed. But as it stands right now, today, Huntley is the program lead. The ushers, from what I understand, fall under Cheryl South.
Yay, Cheryl.
Yeah, fearless leader.
Right?
Our leader.
They're the leader of the ushers, right? So, with that said, the ushers will be, I don't know if they know this yet or not, but they will be responsible for, to assist and evacuate the congregation. Okay, so if anything happens during church services, obviously people just can't sit around. There's a reason an alarm is going off. Provide assistance to individuals that may be in wheelchairs, some that may have crutches or other sort of walking devices, and someone had a hip surgery and can't move that far. That's a joke. Not everyone.
They weren't laughing about it.
And again, direct all the members and non-members, you know, those just coming to visit, where to rally, what to do, because there's going to be mass confusion. Because you're not all used to it, so it will be mass confusion. Okay. Those in charge of children, which would be Christ Lambs, Sheepfold, the nursery, would be those following individuals: Maud, Andrea, and Jean. Again, someplace there has to be a way to evacuate the children safely out of the way. I don't know what the procedure is here in-house, but obviously, we don't want parents, and somehow that'll have to be communicated, not to try to go place deeper in the building and get my child. They're left under your care, or the care of these individuals, so they should be accounted for and evacuated accordingly. Again, Children's Ministry is Father Brian, so I guess you have charge of the whole of everyone, so you just gotta make sure that all of that information gets communicated, so again, individuals will know what they're supposed to do. Because I'm telling you, after seeing the lunchroom today, that could be kind of chaotic. That means you have to evacuate and account for all the children, again, going back to that. And somehow do you have a head count check at a rally point too for the kids? Okay. Yeah, well, to know that, you know, if you have, I don't know, Tim and Bob and Sally that in the class, that they're there at the rally point, that no one missed them. You know, 'cause, as far as the priest, Father Tim, I guess as Father Tim, is he here? He just, okay? All the clergy should be on the same page to know what their responsibilities are. Obviously, we're leaving a lot of the evacuation of the congregation up to the ushers in the church. But one thing, you know, I didn't take into consideration, I think we may have overlooked that, was the lunch, that little luncheon you have afterwards, because that's, if the ushers aren't there, someone's going to need to help with that evacuation of that lunchroom. That's something that may need to be thought out, maybe in another line written or another responsibility given out. But again, going through this and seeing this actually happening now, that raises another question. Okay, and the altar party, again, it's just having familiarity with what the evacuation plan is, where the exit routes are, and where the rally points are. You may be able to assist. We're not asking you to actively participate in that. It's going to be the usher responsibility. The types of evacuations we're going to have here, we are discussing. There seems to be something missing on that, or it's clipping.
No, it's clipping it off because of that one. But that's the actual slide, so we're good. I checked.
Is fire and smoke. And then the smell of gas, you don't want to activate a fire alarm, but you do want to evacuate the facility. So that would be by word of mouth. You're going to have to do a lot of screaming or whatever, just tell people to evacuate the building. Yes?
Isn't there normally a gas and CO2 monitor? Because they're required, I know they're required in multi-families and so forth.
That is being looked into now, because if we have the Family Promise program beginning, if you have anybody overnight in the facility, you have to have carbon monoxide and smoke detectors hardwired into your fire alarm system. That is being looked at now, and we are, with the financing of it, we didn't realize to begin with how expensive it was going to be, but that will be definitely happening.
Yeah, that's carbon monoxide. She's asking about gas. You have natural gas in the building?
Yes. We do.
Yes.
So do you have any gas detectors?
Yes.
And that's just by the kitchen area, if I
Yes.
recall, right?
Yeah.
The heating system, no?
Gas heating is right
So
here.
you must have one for the heating system? No one
Not
really
really.
knows? Yeah, so I think as you go through and you upgrade the whole system,
Right.
you should have a gas monitor by that's tied into the alarm of some sort too as well. But again, you know, we're gonna focus on smoke and fire, which is the fact that if someone does smell gas, you're just gonna, and there's a lot of people in here, you're just gonna need to make sure that we evacuate all individuals and call the gas company as well as the fire department. You can call them. So those would be manual calls, okay? So again, fire and smoke. Now, I talked to Huntley earlier. The first and foremost thing is no one in this room, probably no one in the congregation, is a professional fluid anyway. So what we always ask is that you pull the alarm, because you want to get everyone out of the building, and that's the priority, is to get everyone out of the building first. Okay? And then that automatically triggers the building evacuation. Got a question?
Where are the alarms?
Yeah.
Where are the alarm pull stations?
All around.
Okay, right, we'll do,
And Jerry, I understand if you smell any gas at all, you do not do that?
don't pull the alarm, because
See, I think people, if they think something's wrong, there's liable to be somebody from the congregation who will just go right and think, wait a minute, pull the alarm.
well, it's an electrical connection, and if there's gas in the area,
Yeah.
you're gonna smell it and there's one there, you're not gonna wanna pull it.
Right, I
Why,
realize that.
why risk it, you know?
It's important, it'd be a natural thing for somebody to do that.
Yep.
Shouldn't there be someone here who knows the procedure? Because normally if you're sitting in a congregation, you have no idea that we have gone through this training. And people might actually pull that if they smell gas or smoke or something.
Yeah, the idea, if I can just interrupt, is to somehow do a mock or a beta evacuation of the entire congregation during an actual service.
A drill.
We're just really waiting for the weather to be better, to be honest with you. And we will actually have to go through an evaluation, and then those of us that are leads will come back in here and say, okay, what went well, what didn't go so well, what did we forget? Like the luncheon, that threw both of us today, I went, whoa.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
could be really frightening because who takes the lead in that environment? So the idea is we go through the training today, the leads are identified, or at least most of them. There are some obviously that we forgot about. But that we actually go through first one. Then we regroup and we figure out, well, okay, what do we have to get better at? The second time we pull the alarm, we're gonna have the fire department on site so that they can evaluate how well we do. So this evacuation plan, I guess our job will be to figure out how do we get it into the hands of the appropriate people. And then obviously Father Tim will have to announce at a service, actually all of his services, the day we're gonna do the mock evac, because even in our church, we tell people, we're pulling the alarm today, and everybody must evacuate, and every lead takes on their responsibility and does it. And then we do a post-mortem of what could we have done better, were people confused when they were out, all right? So I just want to allay everybody's concerns that the purpose of today is just the first step of 3, as far as we're concerned. You know, we're here 3 times, just so everybody feels comfortable, and we don't have the pressure of the fire department, you know, also kind of nitpicking. We're gonna be in good shape before that happens, and I would say that it should be relatively quickly. We shouldn't put this off like another 3 months if he doesn't move any more refrigerators. And hopefully we'll do this relatively quickly.
Good.
We do also know that there are some leads that we've identified of folks videotaping. So once we're sure everybody kind of gets the drift of what we're doing, then we'll just announce it and say, you know, we're gonna do a practice run today. And the goal, as Jerry said, is to make sure that people know the first thing to do is evacuate the building. Don't panic. Know that all of the other leads and all of the other sections of the church know what they're doing, and your children are going to a different rally point. And then the leads are the people that are responsible for acknowledging that the kids that were in the sheepfold are all out, the little lambs are all where they're supposed to be, that we can push the little crib out. Because the other thing that you may not know is Jerry and I were here over the summer and did a complete walkthrough of every area. And thanks to Chuck, not here, thanks really to him, because he did an incredible job with taking the drawings and helping with the evacuation routes and everything else. That will all be in your evacuation plan. But it's one thing to see a drawing, it's another thing to walk it. All right, so just know, this is just the first time we're here to give you an overview, then we'll practice. Okay? Does that clarify?
Did you consider the configuration of the tables? That I would think from front to back rather than horizontally
Big
in
hall.
Big
the
hall.
hall.
When I was there earlier this morning, we had these partitions up, and I knew there was an exit in the back.
Yeah.
And you were having some sort of It's a formation class.
Right.
You can buy peel and stick signs to post another exit sign with an arrow that points to that back door, because with those partitions up,
Can't
and you're
see
used
it.
to sitting in the first half. Again, I'm not familiar with this, with the church, and I'm sitting there going, my only way out is this way, or through that kitchen. So that, I know the kitchen can get kind of snaky, but the other one's more direct, and maybe you should put a sign there. So, to answer your question, I think you just have to look at it, see what makes more sense. What would serve the, make everyone aware that there's an evacuation door, exit door in the back corner. It's just something you need to look at.
Yeah, and whoever sets up for that service would know, okay, if the high petitions are going up and they're blocking the exit sign, we're just put a kill and stick here for today. So maybe that's the sexton or the assistant sexton.
And you can do it
Chuck.
with, you know, this, opposed to peel and stick, you get the plastic ones, and you use Velcro, because I've had to use them temporarily, put a little Velcro on it, stick it on the wall, and it's hung, and you just take it off later. So, those are some ideas you can get. But again, for what Celia pointed out, we're going over the leads responsibilities, but in this portion here, this is key. Pull a fire alarm. What's the congregation gonna do? And there's nothing there, someone's gonna have to make a general announcement that this is going into play, and if you have children, you need to go to the rally point. And we'll have a bunch of do's and don'ts as we go along that we can go over, and there's probably some more questions there, but a general announcement's gonna have to be made to the congregation.
Yeah, and that'd be Father Tim or any member of the clergy, depending upon what service we're talking about.
Let me ask you one question before I go. Does the fire department do an annual evacuation with the children's?
Not here, they have not.
No, they have not. Okay, Tewksbury, they do. They run the alarms, but what happened was, I'll tell you, it was kind of, this is how we found out. They pulled the alarm, they set the alarm off. They were focusing on the children, evacuating the children. Everybody's just standing around. So finally the chief said, hey, you hear the alarm? Get out. Get out. Everyone get out. So we had to kick everyone out, you know? But again, it's taken lightly sometimes, and it's just a drill. But we gotta treat it as a situation. Okay. So we kinda jumped ahead a whole lot, but again, the alarm sounded, the leads will take controls, the ushers will do what they're supposed to do. Those individuals in charge of the children, the sheepfold, and I don't know all the other, the lambs, they will take control and take the children out. Also, I think that maybe if it's during services, the pastor can make an announcement over, since he's got the microphone, that the church needs to be evacuated immediately, and then that's it. It's just unfortunately you have to stop service, but you need to get everyone out of the building.
And then follow instructions by ushers.
Right.
So the most important people during a service are the ushers assigned to the service. Because in charge of that service, he'll say, please follow the directions of the ushers, but you must evacuate the building. And then the ushers will,
Yeah.
they take over from there.
Now somehow they have to be trained in what they need to do. Yes.
Ushers.
Yes.
We have ushers that are on duty, and then we have ushers that are sitting in the congregation. Is it just the ushers that are on duty that are going to do that, or would it be anyone that was an usher that's even in the congregation?
It's, I think anyone that can help evacuate the facility should be used, to be honest with you. Especially if I saw you have individuals who are with disabilities, you know. They need to get out of the building as well. And they may need help or assistance to do that. So, yeah, get them out. Whoever, if you're just part of the congregation, you're an usher, and you want to help, fine. But I think you seem to have plenty of ushers to take the control, or take the lead in evacuating the facility. Now, they're only responsible for the congregation, you know. That's their focus. You'll have a lot of people in the church, too.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Could I hear that again?
So you have quite a few people in the church.
I don't even know if I could get a smile on.
At least I think you do.
Hey, why not?
Everyone, they'll move to an area of refuge. This is the area of refuge, okay? Since the ushers are responsible for the evacuation, and they're going to assist an individual who may have a disability, and sometimes if that individual cannot get out of the facility entirely, and there's the fire we know may not be at the front of the building, created and identified an area of refuge, okay? Whereas an usher will move the individual to this baptistry room, which is out front, and get the person there safely, and then send the second individual out to the rally location or to the fire commander and say, we have an individual, we need some assistance, we can't get this person out of the facility. They can direct firemen into the building to get that individual out. So that's the safest way, because if you're going to try to get someone out in a wheelchair, maybe you can't do it yourself physically, you don't want to dump anything.
But there's steps down into the baptistry. It seems like it'd be easier to get out of the building to get into the baptistry.
Yeah, it is.
That's the best, right?
Yeah.
There's a ramp, well, there's a ramp.
Yeah, the steps going out the building are much fewer and gentler than the ones going down into the baptistry. Correct.
Yeah, they should just go. You wouldn't go down to the baptistry with a wheelchair.
No.
Probably
There's
not.
only steps.
No, I don't think that.
There is a ramp to the, on that drawing to the right, there's a ramp.
Yeah.
Go out that door.
Oh, okay.
So you could meet at the doorway of the baptistry
Yeah, it is.
with that person and then go down.
Try to get an area of refuge for someone who possibly couldn't make it all the way
Yeah,
out.
with 3 or 4 or 5 people in wheelchairs. If we at least got them to
The top of the
the
steps
top
even.
of the steps, we know, okay, there are 4 people we need to evacuate, and then roll to the ramp. But at
Right.
least we'd know we've got them all collected, and then if we had difficulty moving them, or whoever was in charge of moving them had difficulty moving them, we could then instruct the fire department, we have 2 more people in wheelchairs, go. But at least we know we've got them all.
In that
And we
space.
watched, and they were all in one place. What we were concerned about is, what if they ended up all over the place and we didn't know? So an area of refuge is typically one central location where everybody with a disability would take them to. So the idea is not go down the stairs, just put them in front of the baptistry, know we've got them collected, and then as many people as possible that are physically able to roll them down the ramp or help them with their walkers or crutches or whatever they have, at least we've got them all collected. I think that's the idea. And then we do have that one ramp by that to get them out. So when we talk about an area of refuge, it's simply to coordinate where are all these people gonna go and where do the ushers put them. Because remember, in an emergency, everybody will go berserk. So your job as an usher is to keep people from going berserk. So one usher is busy getting the congregation out, while another usher may be busy just getting people with disabilities to a location. Yeah.
I've been involved in something like this before, but they had like a green hat or something that would be identifiable for the usher or whoever's in charge. Because when people just get, emotionally upset and that they need something to focus on, whether it's a vest someone puts on or a green hat or something, you could really put it in that little area as you come into the church. There's like a coat rack there. You could put that kind of so the usher people would right away say, this is the leader.
That's a great idea.
That's a good point.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because you got a lot of, again, you could have visitors or someone who's not familiar with what the procedure is to evacuate. And you kind of identify them as, we're in control, we're going to evacuate you, we're going to kind of guide you where to go.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea, so I should write that down.
Are there several different areas of refuge depending upon where the fire may or may not be?
Now, there's only one main area because we focus mainly on the congregation.
But what if the fire is in the front of the church? I mean, down by that baptistry.
Well, as you look at the diagrams, I think we're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it shows you on your diagrams in your handout where to go if you're in
Different parts of
in different parts of the building. It has a little line with red dots and shows you that the congregation doesn't go out the back. The congregation goes out the front, the 2 sides. Only the
okay.
folks that have disabilities go out and meet by the baptistry. So the congregation going the opposite direction of where the folks with disabilities would be going. And the usher who leads not out the back.
Yes.
But the second, I believe the second point of refuge might be between the congregation and the lunchroom, within that hallway, because if there is a fire this end of the building, you cannot have that as your refuge, as your focal point, you need a second one. So it would probably be between the hallway, between your lunchroom and the church.
Right.
In the sense of knowing that if it's, coming our way, we're gonna move everyone, but, so they know where there's another.
We can't see the arrows in the printout. I don't know if anyone else can, so.
Well, the print, these,
Yes.
these are,
On your evacuation plan, all
They're
of the
color in the other
refuge
one.
places are at the back of this handout. And in most cases, with a red dot and a red line. Some of you might have a black and white, but there's every,
Okay, thank you.
and these are what David Greening will be posting.
yeah, the individual evacuation, the pictures themselves, like that, those will be blown up by David.
Right.
And they will be posted, so you'll have, you'll.
They have them all in their packet.
Yeah, you have them in your packet, but the intention is to blow them up and have them also a visual kind of guide for everybody as well. Okay.
See,
So
when
you're
this was the
looking at
first
handouts.
pass, Huntley didn't want to go ahead and post anything else, because then people would say,
What
well,
I
what are you
understand.
posting, what's this for? So we wanted to kind of run this by everybody, because, we tried to think of this as we went along. Celia working with Huntley all the time, but we're just three, and to have everyone else's input is a lot better. So, that's kind of like a good step for this meeting as well. These are do's and don'ts. These are some of the stuff that I went through. So when the alarm sounds, these are the easy ones. You want to evacuate the building immediately. Those individuals as identified as leads, ushers and folks in charge of the children, they need to maintain control and ensure that the congregation walks and gets out safely and calmly as best you can. And no one can ever re-enter the facility until the fire chief has given the okay. Because it could be a false alarm, it could be a real alarm. If it's a false alarm, which you hope is most of the time, they'll give re-entry okay into the facility. Don't allow the congregants or anyone to leave the parking lot in their vehicles. I said I work for a manufacturing company. These folks think it's break time and they're gonna go to, Dunkin' Donuts and get a coffee. We can't account for them. So you certainly don't want vehicles trying to get out as emergency vehicles are trying to get in. Okay? So you wanna prevent that. Make sure that no one assumes that the alarm is false or it's just a drill. Again, we ran into that, as I explained, with our church. The adults stayed inside the building as the alarm was sounding. You want to get everyone out. Again, if there's personal belongings, everyone's evacuating, you grab whatever you can. But again, you can't come back into the building because, I forgot a pocketbook or I forgot my coat. No, those are not excuses to come back in. Can't come back in until the chief is clear, or the commander, the fire commander is clear. You don't have an elevator? No. But you don't allow anyone to use an elevator. That's just standard practice. Yeah. I think this is a good thing, and, again, this is exactly where everything stems from. Oftentimes people take safety for granted. Again, because they just think it's just a test, or this can't be real, or did I really hear it? So in order for Christ the Redeemer Church to be safe, every member of the lead team and the congregation must develop an attitude that fire prevention as well as safety and efficient stability. The ushers are there to help those who are not familiar, those who need help. As the congregation understands what they need to do, they need to take their responsibility for getting out of the building. And then those parents, I can sympathize. If you have small kids, you do want to meet up with your children. There's nothing to stop you from going outside at the rally area to see your kids. But you got to trust the folks that are in charge of them are doing their part. These should be conducted annually. And again, I'm surprised the town doesn't require it. Tewksbury requires it. I'm surprised the town has never required it, but again, you gotta look at where did we fail? Where could we improve? You know, those are the type of questions you have to ask yourself.
Isn't post-mortem a little pessimistic?
Yeah. Post-incident. We could post-incident.
Drill.
It's a drill.
Review, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Will there be some walkie-talkies?
Oh, we gotta ask now with the walkie-talkie.
Cool.
No, don't have any. No, I don't think they're really needed.
Yeah.
Again, as long as you get everyone out the building and the leads know what they're supposed to do,
And everybody's accounted
and everyone's accounted for the best you can. And again, I know you don't have head count in the congregation, but use the buddy system. I know you were there, where are you now? Why aren't you here? Someone's left in the building. There have been incidents, and I think you've seen them in the paper, where firemen have lost their lives on an actual fire because you know, I think sometimes it's just like a joke to have someone go in, and something happens catastrophically, and someone loses their life. So, again, you got to be able to tell the fire department personnel that there is one individual, I last saw them there, and then they can go in and check. Again, conducting annual training, and new teams, backups, and train and develop a schedule. So you're going to need backups. You're going to have some sort of annual retrain, just a quick overview. It only takes maybe 10-15 minutes. If it's new members, you may want to go in depth a little bit longer. But other than that, you should have something annual.
Could you do it in smaller groups? Like, could the ushers have their own training and the teachers have their own training, so we don't have to gather up, you know, 150 people to do this? I mean, could each different ministry kind of do their own
Yeah,
training?
as long as you can verify.
Yeah, if they did a,
Well, that would be my own concern. So whoever the lead is
in
would
that
have to
group.
take responsibility for that year. So
Right.
in 2014, the usher training was conducted by or led by X person. We have a date. That way we can assure continuity in the program. And as we develop changes to it, those changes are getting communicated. What I get concerned about is it's like a coffee table book. You know, it's there, it's pretty, it collects dust. And in the event of a real emergency, we've got to take this stuff seriously, and people have to be accountable. So the ushers this is a huge responsibility for an usher. So now, if we're adding this to the job, they also have to be willing to take on the responsibility of evacuating people, which is a huge responsibility. But right now, we couldn't think of a common denominator. Certainly the announcement comes from who's ever, you know, leading the service. That one's easy. But then the usher really is responsible for getting people out. So
Responsible for certain locations anyway. And part of our safety team group, we thought, well, okay, we'll as an alarm goes off, we'll have someone from the team kind of go through the building real quickly, make sure that no one's left behind. Fire department balked at that. They didn't like that at all, because that's their job. Okay, so where I'm going to go with this is we don't want any leads going back into the building once an alarm has gone off to make sure that everyone's gotten out. You have to assume that you've ushered everyone out, and you get out, and you use your buddy system. That's the best way to do it. It's the only way to do it. Unfortunately, you don't have a set amount of individuals that you can account for.
Can I ask one question as
Sure.
the head of the ushers? There are team leaders, there's 5 different ushering teams.
Right?
So I think I would like to suggest to my ushers that each team know what their people are going to do in the case of an emergency. You know, because
Right.
it's the same people that are usually with that team.
Mm-hmm.
And then yearly, when we have an ushering meeting, we could do the evacuation, anyone that's new or whatever. But is that something that you think would be okay for me to say to them?
Yeah, that's fine.
The team leaders,
Oh,
that
yeah.
your team should, you know, maybe assign people to each door or each section to make sure everybody gets out.
Right, and at least if they know what they're supposed to do, that's key.
And then if we have this drill, whenever we have this drill, whatever ushering team is on duty that day, they'll have it running like clockwork.
They should. Yeah.
They will.
Shall you know? I tell you, you pull an alarm and there is mass confusion half the time, you
Yeah.
know? But once you've gone over it a few times, people understand what they need to do and how they need to do it.
No, of course not.
Yeah,
Double duty.
I work in a school, and
Yeah.
I'm part of our, whatever you want to call it, teams that we have in place. Part of my job in that is checking all the bathrooms within the building that I work in. I'm a little uncomfortable not checking our bathrooms here. I'm a little uncomfortable with not sending at least one of our ushers to, make sure there's no one in the bathroom. Kids kind of go out without their parents to use their bathroom. So I just feel uncomfortable that.
it's not, it's really not an individual's responsibility to check that, to be honest with you.
fireman
It's the fireman that will do it, but if you want to do that, and again, it was our company that said, no way, you're not going to do that, because we're not gonna risk life and,
Well, by the time the firemen come, we've already done it. That's
yeah.
what I'm just
But,
saying.
you know,
is that-
I'm not gonna say you can't do it, it's a recommendation that you don't do it, because say if it happens to be in an area that there is a fire, and someone goes in and someone's fallen down or something, who knows, okay, I'm just gonna make all these what ifs.
Right.
And there's smoke, and no, instead of do that.
We can decide that we are
You
gonna
can
do it.
decide that,
And then how
Yeah.
many bathrooms are there? There's two in the
Three.
hallway.
There's three, just one here.
Yeah,
That's it.
so it may be part of one of the duties of the leads of that team can be fire, fire, bathrooms, you hit one of the ushers hit the two bathrooms, and you only have three, you don't
Well,
have.
the one here would hear anything, it doesn't count.
so the ushers would be, who would do it if this
So then the
portion?
team would decide which usher's gonna check back.
I would say the
Right.
usher
Okay,
closest
alright.
to this
The one- the
door.
one-
Yeah, the usher closest to
decide.
whatever door
Right.
would evacuate or at least yell,
But they'd hear the alarm, wouldn't
They
they?
should
I mean,
hear,
they
you
sh-
know,
I mean,
that's,
well-
we've never pulled the alarm. I mean, we
It's just
couldn't
those little
pull it.
bells, it's not like the new, in a second.
Sure.
I won't forget you.
Thank you.
We know, like, the newer systems have a strobe and a loud horn. These things have a bell, and who knows if the bells work. And sometimes it can be ding, 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 like an alarm clock.
Yeah.
So we really don't know how well that whole system works, to be honest with you. And the only way to do it is to have a drill, pull the alarm, have the fire department set it off, or the alarm company come in and trip it so you can set it off. Know where all the bells are, and I mean, if they're not working, then you need to replace it with something else. And you won't get a bell today. They'll give you the strobe and a light, I mean, and a horn. But that gets more involved, because I had to do that for another company of ours, another division, where we had the bells, we had the gongs, and we went to strobes and lights, because they weren't heard that well, or they were defective in some cases. We had to upgrade the whole alarm system.
Oh.
So, it's a double-edged sword in an old building like this. I don't know what's gonna happen.
We have, I'm from Little Lambs, and we have a policy that if a child needs to go to the bathroom, an adult, one of our teachers, takes that child to the bathroom. So
Right.
we would definitely be outside the bathroom to bring the child out to the evacuation. But a concern I have, and I would like to share with all of you, is that we need to have parents in the congregation stop sending their little children to the bathroom without supervision. It's a safety concern, because anybody can come in from outside that building, and we've had folks that have, and just take those kids out. We really need them not to do that, because in the event of a panic-stricken, they've sent their kids to the bathroom, 5-year-olds and
And we're
4-year-olds.
sending the congregation one way.
We're
and the
sending
kids
that
another.
way, right.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. How can a parent send a child to the bathroom if they're with you?
Not
They
all of them
can't.
go.
They
to
can't.
it.
They're
But
not
they
with us
may
the
go
whole
to
time.
it.
That-
You're in a congregation.
These
They're
are
in the
children that are not with
congregation,
us.
and they're sending their children off.
Right.
That should be something the church should look
It
at.
should be a policy that
Yeah.
is really,
That's something you need to look at. yeah.
absolutely.
Because you're absolutely right, because if you send a child out and alarm goes off, they're gonna be frightened.
They'll be terrified.
They might hide in the bathroom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
they will be, and they will panic in the bathroom and not move.
Adults will panic.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Cheryl, I like the concept of an usher nearest that door doing the bathrooms. Because then you think that usher could also mop up in the congregation, make sure everybody's out. Because that's my concern. You've got all the ushers ushering people. Who's making sure that everybody's moved out? So that person who does this could presumably go out and make sure everybody else is out. Just a thought.
That sounds good, Caleb.
So the bathroom person flushes it out.
That's a good way for that person to remember the job.
You know, if Caleb, if one guy has
I mean, it seems that, we may have to have individual meetings
Yes. Yeah.
for different groups. So that way, when you guys get an opportunity to look at that evacuation plan, if you've got suggestions on how to update it, you just have to get them somewhere. Get them to Huntley, and then I'll update it to reflect what you guys want changed in the evacuation plan. But I think you need something forward. Children are not allowed to go to the bathroom by themselves.
Absolutely.
They must be accompanied by an adult.
do you ever recommend that some or all the leaders have smoke masks?
Have a what?
Smoke masks?
Smoke mask? No, you won't need it. You're not a professional firefighter, so, again, you should be evacuating like everyone else.
Speaking of,
You got Bill back.
Well, inasmuch as we have 25 slides to go,
Yeah.
and I don't think we want to be here till 5 o'clock, maybe we should start writing down questions, and we'll collect them and then deal with them at another meeting.
I just have a general location or return question, which I think will make it easier. The refuge area is the baptismal space. Is that the front of the building or the back of the building? Because I'm thinking of upstairs
That's a great question.
blizzard,
We all use it
and
differently.
everybody's wanting to grab a coat. We don't all bring our coats in, and so if they're going out by the bathrooms, the side doors, or some, people can grab anybody's coat. That's important to know. But if they're going out the front door and it's February and it's snowing and it's 4 degrees, and they are in their, non-coat wardrobe. So which is the front? Which way is the congregation going as it is now?
I'd rather be a little cold and burned.
Well, that's true, but I mean, is that
That's my
meaning?
choice.
That means that the front door
You're going
is the
away
door
from your
near
guns.
the refuge on both
Let
sides.
me ask you, I know the trailer is separate from the building. Is there some way you could put people in the trailer?
Well, I think,
If
again,
it's-
what
if
Bill
it's
is
extremely
saying
cold.
is we gotta write these questions down, we don't
Yeah.
have time.
I just wanna know where the front and the back is and
That's
which
the
way.
front of the church,
Okay,
this is the back of the church.
all right,
Elliott
that's fine.
Street.
That's fine.
Elliott
We're a
Street's
number
the
on
front.
I
Elliott
promise
Street,
this,
gotcha.
the rest of it should go fairly quick.
I know, that's what.
Okay.
So write your questions down, that'll be good. So this is the rally location for the sheet. This is the lawn.
Now, you gonna put any signing that says rally point, or? Okay. Okay. That's all right, I just thought I'd ask that question too as well. So now you know where the rally location is. Right, that's good. Emergency contact number is always 911, as you mostly can see. Poison control numbers down there, but I think what should be added is the gas company. Because someone has to locate gas company. And do you want to list who the leads are and maybe a contact number? That's up to you, okay? So at least, if they're looking at this, and these are posted around, they'll know who to contact. And again, what we didn't mention, and I can say real quickly, is that if an individual or someone from the congregation pulls an alarm because they even go to the bathroom, they know on that team that they pull the alarm. Here's where I found an incident. So when the fire department comes on board, comes in the property, they know where to direct them. And again, yeah, we went through that. Self-evaluation, we kind of went over this. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to look at it, see how well we did, see where we could improve. Another good thing is to exits are unobstructed, and then do they make for easy access? And did everyone do their job? Okay.
Yeah, the other,
And the other thing that I noticed up front coming in is we're gonna have to look at fire extinguishers, because if we're gonna ask people to use them, one thing has to be done is they have to have a monthly visual audit. We'll go over that real quickly. And then secondly, they have to be unobstructed, and the plant in front of one of them. You can't have them obstructed. Yeah, sure.
That one is real by the.
Yeah, but you can swap some stuff around and do it better. It says, who's responsible for pulling the alarm to evacuate the building? That should be anyone. So if someone notices a fire, they should just pull the alarm. First of all, you have to know where they are. And there's one that was hidden by a bookcase, so that would be, calling the fire department, again, that should be anyone if we notice a fire. And again, if you don't agree with that, that's your rules you can set, but it should be anyone having, you see an emergency, you call emergency responder, right? Accounting for all, following the EAP guidelines, again, from the leads, and directing the fire department or medical personnel to the fire. Okay, so some of those are the things that you need to look at and you're gonna do what. Again, after anything, we just put these in, but stuff for the church folks to think about is that who's gonna notify your insurance carrier if you have a fire. Someone has to take charge of that. Clean up and any kind of restoration. I don't think cleanup would be that difficult, other than it would just be charred debris, but in our case, where I work, it would go getting into, drains. Ensuring that all fire protection devices such as the portable fire extinguishers and alarms are restored into service, because that will have to happen by someone who knows what they're doing. And obviously, any media statements, So. Well, we're gonna hold the questions, right? We're gonna table the
Yeah, I
questions,
think what we
right?
need to do.
One big problem we don't have, listen, non-smoking parish, right? Non-smoking building? I've never seen anybody smoke.
Well, don't trip on the wire.
Yeah, don't you trip.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'll probably dent the floor now.
Do you need to revise?
Subject the offender to civil liability
You bring up a good
and
point.
several criminal penalties.
You're kidding, non-smoking.
Kidding, 'cause they get that
We assume this whole
titanium.
building is non-smoking, correct?
I've never seen a smoker, but that doesn't mean no one ever
How
has.
about when we have AA meetings? Do people smoke?
Oh,
No.
No, okay, so
Really?
it's completely non-smoking. That's important.
So that's another group of people that's gonna need to know the evacuation plan.
Yeah, it's going up.
The AA, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all the weekday
Well, they
stuff
got
will
three
have to.
doors to choose from, and that's, yeah.
All right.
At this fire school, novice firefighters fight large flammable liquid fires under controlled conditions. They learn the proper techniques that will allow them to get the most out of their fire extinguishers. They also learn the limitations of a fire extinguisher. This is important knowledge if they ever face a split-second judgments must be made. In this program, you will learn the different classifications of fire extinguishers, their proper use, and limitations. In order to have a fire, 3 elements must be present: oxygen, heat, and fuel. If any one of the elements is removed, the fire will be extinguished. Fires are classified by the type of fuel they burn. Fuel can be a solid, liquid, or gas. There is a wide array of extinguishers that react differently to different fuels, some adversely. Therefore, it is important to identify the type of fire before selecting an extinguisher. Class A fires are composed of dry combustibles, such as paper, wood, and plastics. Class B fires are fueled by grease, paint, and flammable liquids, such as gasoline. Class C fires are electrical, and Class D fires are composed of combustible metals. Indicate what fires they are effective against. Some extinguishers have a letter in a color-coded geometric shape, along with a picture of the fires they can be used on. Many extinguishers have multiple classifications, with the most popular being the ABC extinguisher. This eliminates choosing the wrong extinguisher for the fire. For example, Class A extinguishers, which mainly consist of water, can compound the problem if used on an electrical or grease fire. The water may actually help spread the fire. An ABC extinguisher is also effective on a fire that has more than one fuel involved. ABC extinguishers are not effective against combustible metals. And Class A extinguishers removes the heat element of the fire. Class A fires form embers that will continue to smolder if unchecked. Always make sure a Class A fire is totally extinguished and remove the materials from the building after they are extinguished. Class B extinguishers work by smothering. The dry chemical shoots out a powdery cloud to smother the fire. Carbon dioxide extinguishers eliminate the oxygen in a fire, but care must be taken that dry combustibles do not start up again. When using a fire extinguisher, remember one key word: pass. Pull the pin. Aim low, point at the base of the fire. Squeeze the handle to release the extinguishing agent, and sweep from side to side to prevent the fire from spreading. Keep your back to an escape range of the extinguisher, and advance on the fire only as it is being extinguished. Never attempt to fight the fire when it is spreading beyond the immediate area where it started, or the fire could block your escape route. Fire extinguishers should be placed where they are easily accessible, and near extinguishers should never be placed at a dead-end wall, where the act of retrieving it puts the user in peril. After a fire extinguisher is used, it needs to be recharged. Make sure the proper personnel at your facility are notified after each use. Most fire extinguishers have a seal over the pin. If the seal is broken, report it immediately. It may need recharging. It is important to remember that all extinguishers have both a limited amount of range and extinguishing agent. If you are unable to extinguish the fire immediately, get out. Close the fire door behind you. Fire can get out of hand quickly if the conditions permit it. If used properly, fire extinguishers can prevent large-scale property damage and even save lives. At home or work, statistics show that most of us will face some type of fire in our lives. The time to prepare is now.
The only thing I want to say about these fire extinguishers, when I said limited range and limited agent, the ABCs that you have on the walls right now are 20 feet, and they only last 21 seconds. So you got 21 seconds to put that on.
Oh, wow.
Okay? That's it. And you don't grab another one. If it doesn't go out in the first one, you lay the extinguisher down on its body, put it down, and just leave it. So that when their fire department personnel or anyone else knows it's dead, it's not to be used. You have a CO2. That range is only 6 feet, and that lasts about 16 seconds. So you can see that it's only for an incipient fire. And if you feel safe to use it, use it. It can save the building sometimes. But again, it has limited range. And with the CO2, just safety factors. With the ABC, dry chem, all the big ones, they'll all have that range, a gauge on it. If it's green, it's go, you're okay. Unless you know the weight difference between the CO2 or not, you don't know if you have anything in it. CO2, you pull the pin, give it a test first. You could squeeze the handle and get nothing. And you certainly don't want to be walking towards the fire with nothing. So give it a quick burp. Make sure it's okay. The other thing you can expect from a CO2, and I'm going to tell everyone here, but sometimes it's a nice joke to pull, is that it gives static through the horn, so people will get little shocks. It's not conductive. It won't hurt you. It's just sometimes going through the horn. Just expect that you'll get like little shocks from static electricity. That's about it with